Hi everyone, welcome to TGIF, another Friday, another episode. It's my pleasure to welcome Praveen Srivatsa. Praveen is one of the celebrated, I would say, leader in the industry. He is an MVP for Microsoft, and of course he's been, I would say, common speaker for any first part of Microsoft event. Praveen, welcome to TGIF.
My pleasure to be there. I follow the whole TGIF series, and it's something that gives a quick perspective in terms of understanding a whole bunch of technologies in terms of relevance. So.
For all viewers, Praveen is a director at Astrosoft Consulting, and he specializes in building planet scale solutions. He is also very keen, I would say, implementer of solutions with social impact in mind, right? So I thought I'll pick Praveen's brain in terms of his experience, because he's a consultant CTO for many companies, and he brings in perspective from solutions that's been built in the industry at large scale. So Praveen, first question to you, planet scale solutions. Now, help us understand, as a technical leader, a technology leader, how will one approach thinking about solution at a global scale?
Right. So I think the challenge is, many a times we come back, we know technology, we learn some piece of technology, we look at applicability of it, but we don't understand the context in terms of where all and how all can be used, right? If you look at the whole world, we are such a diverse set of cultures, right? We have places where there's no network connectivity. We have got places which are middle of a desert. We've got stuff wherein we put technology out into space right now. So we've got stuff across the entire globe. And we don't know a perspective of understanding all of these contexts. Right. So many times I come back and tell that, when you're working with technology, you can know the technology, but you should understand the context in which it gets used as well. And those is what helps us in terms of making a planet scale solution.
Wonderful. Again, an important aspect, Praveen, here is for a technology leader. Now, while you think about scale, what about technology building blocks itself? I think unless one understands the applicability, relevance, and when to use what, it's difficult to solve a problem. So your take on that?
So I totally agree. Like we have to understand the context, we have to understand the applicability and the limitations of technology as well, right? I keep telling people this, saying that, you pick a technology, you spend a lot of time saying it can do these 20, 40 fantastic things. I ask them, what can't it do? Because unless you know the limitations of the technology and where not to use it, you actually don't know where correctly to use it. Right? So we have to understand all the fantastic benefits, but also the boundaries within which that technology lives, right? And that's what helps us in terms of truly using a technology and knowing it the best way in terms of building real world solutions with it.
Perfect. So quickly, now you said knowing technology, but as a leader yourself, while you approach your customers, and you have to know the limitations yourself. So what's your magic trick, or what's your mantra to stay updated? Do you build miniature solutions yourself to understand, or how do you be relevant in that context?
Oh, absolutely. It's a challenge in terms of the amount of technology that is out there. But one thing I make sure of is, any technology that I recommend to anyone, it's something I definitely would have done a hands-on solution around it. Right? Because unless you go through it, it's like unless you've eaten a certain food, you don't know the taste of it, right? And you don't know the relevance of it. What is the nitty-gritties of it? So I make sure that any technology that I work with, while I can talk about it, if I want to recommend it, I definitely will do a complete hands-on on it, get it working, know the nitty-gritties of it for that context, and then come back and start working with it.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Praveen. In fact, right now, we live in the world of open source, code, I would say. I'm sure somebody would have done something, built something very meaningful. So it's always good to look at that, what's practically possible, or build something and contribute back. Because you mentioned social impact. I know you're very passionate about the topic. Let's look at evidence of how one will think about globalizing a solution.
Right. So in the medical context, one of the solutions that I came across recently is this company which is building remote ICU monitoring, sitting right here in Bangalore. Wow. So basically they take care of over 50 different ICUs across the globe, including one in Leh, multiple in Bihar, multiple in Northeast, multiple around the world. They have doctors from Australia, India, Europe, etc. coming in as part of the platform, monitoring this, and they're doing a remote ICU monitoring. Right? Now, monitoring patients is a challenge. Monitoring, a hospital is a different challenge. Monitoring in ICU is a really tough thing. Right? Essentially, you miss out a few blips of the heart rate monitor, the person could die. right?
Yeah.
So that is the amount of interaction, or that is the amount of expertise you need to be able to do something like this, right? And these people are able to come back and say, sitting in Bangalore here, they have these high definition cameras. They use computer vision to come back and understand different elements of it, and they come back and they're constantly connected with the ground staff there.
Wow.
In terms of giving back feedback, interactions, etc. And they do a 24/7 monitoring of ICUs. Now, can you imagine the impact in terms of saying, there are places in rural India wherein their whole hospital is just a log of wood somewhere, right? And they're trying to put one small room which is like an ICU, and these people sitting here can save lives there.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
So
Very powerful.
it's only when we experience solutions like this and then dig in terms of looking at the solutions like this, that's when we understand saying that we have to build solutions which work across the globe. We have to use latest technologies, but we have to understand the local context. Can you imagine in an ICU kind of a scenario, network connection disconnects for a few seconds.
Oh, gone.
Right?
Yeah.
You
Critical.
are completely in a critical phase,
That's
right? So these are the kind of context that you have to understand when you're coming back and working with technologies like this.
Brilliant. So Praveen, one last question. Yesterday was Ignite conference.
Right.
Now we had a ton of new announcements that happened. So your top pick from your end.
Right. So, obviously a lot of good, interesting announcements. There was announcements around the metaverse. There was announcements around the open AI and stuff. But I think some of the things that I liked was Microsoft Loop, which comes back and works with different kinds of content. Microsoft Syntax, which again helps us in terms of contextualizing information. So I think some of these makes digital information much more accessible to people, right? And these were some of my takes.
So honestly, Praveen, thank you so much for your time. I truly appreciate your presence.
My pleasure.
Wonderful. And for all viewers, in summary, yes, there's a need for us to look at solutions in a global context. Of course, you can localize and personalize it. But as a technical leader, it's important that each of us look at technology, understand its relevance and applicability. With that, thank you so much for watching us today. Keep watching TGIF. Have a wonderful Friday and a great weekend ahead. Bye-bye.